to Red Raspberry ASMR. Tonight our book is Not That Kind of Ever After by Luci Adams. So let's go ahead and dive right into the summary. I've not read this one yet, so I'm excited to experience it with you guys. Bella Marble's life isn't what she imagined. Instead of an author, she's a receptionist at a small press. Instead of happily married, she's single and her lovey-dovey parents are divorcing. And to top it off, her best friend of 29 years, Ellie Matthews, is moving out and marrying the heinously boring Mark. He's not worthy of her. No one could ever be. Bella feels rudderless, only slightly soothed by her time spent with Ellie's not hot brother Marty. Okay, he's hot, but he's also like the abrogating brother she never had, right? Well, Marty recommends Bella stop looking for the one and just have fun. Bella finds a new, empowered side of herself. But when she posts a fairy tale retelling of a disastrous one-night stand on a storytelling app, all of a sudden, Bella is now at Be Enchanted and she's gone viral. Now Bella's in a fight with Ellie. Her new roommates are so deeply weird. And the pressure is mounting to find new fairy tales to write about, but she's got to live them first. Sounds really interesting, so here we go at chapter 1. Chapter 1. It came, unlike me, while I was riding backward cowgirl on what must have been the hairiest man in London. I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't my finest hour. I'm not talking about my performance, of course. On that front, I'd rate myself a solid 6.5, maybe even 7 out of 10, and I promise you, I don't say that lightly. I was giving it all the cries and whimpers of your more talented roster of you-born actresses, but being totally sincere, my heart wasn't in it. But oh, how I wanted it to be. The date hadn't been great. We'd met through Mirror, the latest in the long line of dating apps that have haunted my home screen. And from what I could see on my phone, he was male, single, and conveniently located in London. So he ticked the right boxes. Name, Charles Wolfe. That should have been my first telltale sign. The Charles bit. I mean, not the Wolfe. Although, to that point, his surname was a bit unfortunate given his disproportionate body-to-body hair ratio. Charles, not Charlie or Chip, not even Chaz, but Charles, like the Prince of Wales or the floppy-eared dog. I wondered maybe if it was just a formality of writing his name down. I'm still the full Isabella on my work emails, despite just being Bella, but as he joined me at the cute little pub I suggested, he went straight in with a cheeky banker side kiss and a 5 drinks down already slur of Belle. Charles. Charmed. So it was Charles, just Charles. Still, it wasn't his choice to be called Charles. His parents named him, the nice Vicar christened him. He was the victim here, and if none of his primary school teachers had given the whole nickname thing a go, then who was I to blame him for it? Name, Charles Wolfe. Occupation, Assistant Manager, GRM Investments. Again, I told myself, not his fault. Not all those who work for investment banks are dickheads. There's just a disproportionate amount of dickheads who work for investment banks. Finding the pure gems from inside the sea of rhinestones is, speaking from personal experience, a rummage in the dark that inevitably ends with me crying my eyes out to Pretty Woman and thinking that my life would be easier if I was a beautiful West Coast prostitute. He was probably just great at math or economics at school, and the teachers guided him toward portfolio management. The same way that mine guided me towards creative writing. That's a bit of a lie. My teachers guided me to average grades all around, but I guided myself to creative writing. And my parents invariably accepted my life choices despite my obvious mediocrity. But I reminded myself, someone's name and job title doesn't necessarily define them. I mean, they literally define them, sure, but I know firsthand I'm greater than Isabella Marble, receptionist at Porter Books Publishing Ltd. I'm Bella Marble, writer and creator, lover of dog, and fantastic karaoke singer to aughts classics. 4-time winner of Potter's Book's annual Most Courteous Telephone Manner Award, an achievement that is still very much on my LinkedIn profile, despite the fact that the last time I won was over 4 years ago now. Drinker of wine, pale ales, and if I'm in need of a pick-me-up, strawberry-infused gin and tonics. A walking advertisement for H&M clothing, queen of animal-based documentary recommendations. An owner of more books than the rest of London combined. Ginger, like all marbles, freckles like the stars, and body type petite, meaning at one point the rest of the world grew taller and I somehow didn't. I can juggle-ish, cartwheel kind of, and have a strange love of constructing IKEA furniture, and I'm a true, hopeless, despairing romantic. Above all things, above my wish to be a writer, above my dream to hug David Attenborough one day, above anything and everything, I want love. I want what those Disney princesses had before the producers and writers got better and found independent, non-male-oriented storylines. I want a good, old-fashioned man to sweep me off my feet and make me feel like royalty, but I'm living in the 21st century, so I also want a man who treats me with respect and admires my strengths and talents for what I'm worth, while he rides me off into the sunset, and maybe, just maybe, I will find that in name, Charles Wolfe, occupation, assistant manager, GRM Investments, height, 6'3", age 33. Chapter 2. The pub hidden on a tiny side road just north of Chinatown is an old favorite of mine. In the heart of Soho, it's easy and convenient for most of London, but it has a beautiful home-away-from-home vibe that's not associated with central London at all. It's straight out of an old English fable, all dark woods, mahoganies, and the strong smell of varnish, coupled with an enthusiastically early Christmas tree. It feels a bit of countryside in the wrong postcode. I love it. I try to leave it to my dates to pick the place. I think it tells me a lot about them depending on what kind of place they pick, but the usual where should we go conversation with Charles didn't quite go the way I hoped. Bella Marble. Where do you fancy going? Charles Wolfe. What's near your place? Bella Marble. I'm sure there's a place that's good for both of us. Soho, maybe? Charles Wolfe. I don't know Soho. Bella Marble. Where do you work then? I'm happy traveling to you if you know somewhere nice. Charles Wolfe. Running late. Be there in 10. X. Bella Marble. Beware. Charles Wolfe. Wrong chat. Another sign that maybe this wasn't going to be the happily ever after I'd hoped for, but it wasn't like he was the only guy I was chatting with either. Well, he was, but it wasn't like I wasn't open to chatting with multiple other men. I just happened to be, right now, not at the moment in time. When I didn't hear from him, I thought about calling the whole thing off, but then it occurred to me. I had the power. I'm a strong female, raised in a house led by a strong female, living with other strong females and watching strong females on television more often than I cared to admit. Plus, I hadn't had anyone even accept a date with me in months, so I took the lead. Bella Marble, free Friday? There's a cute pub on the edge of Chinatown, maybe 7:30? I think it might already sell mulled cider, if you're into that. It also sells beer, or wine if that's what you drink. It's like a normal pub, it sells all drinks, just to be clear. It's not like a specific cider place or anything is what I'm saying. I just called them up to check and they won't be selling milled cider. So let me know if you fancied it. No problem if not, no problems if not, obviously. We could also meet later if you have other plans. I waited 5 hours after sending that last one and regretted everything. The stupid app interface doesn't let you delete messages where I would have instantly. I was about 30 minutes away from deleting my entire profile. But like a true prince galloping over the horizon, he texted back, Charles Wolfe. Sounds good to me, let's say 11. Chapter 3. 11 p.m. was a rogue time for a first date, but given how much effort had been to secure the rendezvous, I didn't want to take my chances asking to move it only to find myself alone on a Friday night. Luckily for me, 11 p.m. is basically the new 7 p.m. in Soho. At least that's what I told myself as I reapplied my makeup 5 hours early and tried to coerce a few of the commissioner's assistants to have after-work drinks with me, so I wasn't just hanging around. By the time I polished off his shared bottle and finally wandered down Marble Road alone toward the twinkling lights of Piccadilly's, swerving around annoying tourists and Instagrammers alike. It was already 10:30 p.m. Since I was early and arriving early on a date is never ideal, I thought about circling Leicester Square, but given that I'd opted for heeled boots, my feet hurt too much to walk more than I already had. Plus, I went for a borderline work-appropriate sexy look and a sheer white shirt over my black jeans. And given my autumn jacket is basically a moth-eaten relic, it was just too cold to hover outside. I picked a corner of the nearly empty pub, maybe a bit close to the Christmas tree. It's September now, surely it'll die before December. To try to avoid people looking up at me with those "you okay, hun" eyes, as I waited completely alone, not okay, hun. It didn't help that the place was almost empty. The kind of vibe the pub emitted, all homely and warm, isn't the kind of vibe people come to Soho for on a Friday night, unless you're me, of course. As 11 p.m. came and went, the last call bell rang out. Charles had already sent me a pre-order with some flimsy late excuse, so it wasn't an immediate problem. Only it did remind me that it was probably not the best idea to choose a pub for an 11 p.m. date. Then again, when I'd suggested the place, I think I'd anticipated a slightly earlier start time. But he did get there eventually, all politeness and apologies, and any thought I had for calling it a night early was quickly switched out for the happy butterflies of budding romance. So tell me a bit about yourself. Ever seen that Leonardo film? His accent was cool, public school droll, which wasn't entirely unexpected. His stiff white shirt was unbuttoned at his collar, and a plethora of thick brown hair was protruding out of his chest like a fur blanket. In fact, it was quite easy to follow the zigzag of hair from his chest, right up around the side of his ears, right around his untamed beard, and finishing in a thick patch of brown sprouts, twisting around in no order whatsoever on the top of his strangely square head. I was trying not to stare directly at it, keeping my eyes fixated on his. Da Vinci? No, the actor. DiCaprio? The film with the fit one for the superhero movies, The Blonde. I'm sure this again would articulate would have immediately put off some woman, but what some might have seen as off-putting, I saw as a challenge. Movie trivia was my specialized subject. I was in the game. Margot Robbie? You're talking about Leonardo DiCaprio and Margot Robbie? Yeah, them. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Nah, the one where you see your pussy. I tried not to wince at the word. Call me slightly prudish, but I'm not a big fan of vagina-based terminology. Not on a first date, not really in general. But the game was on. My cold, expensive cider was before me, and the night was youngish. It was already 11:30 p.m. Oh, The Wolf of Wall Street, the Sorcy movie. Who? The director. It doesn't matter. What about it? Well, yeah, it's a bit like that. What is? My life. Oh, I said all smiles, because if this is the one, if this is my Prince Charming, then I wanted him to get lost in my bright blue eyes and not see the confusion and early onset regret that was currently in them. I wanted this night to be perfect, one we could tell to our future generations. The how we met, we tell our little mini ginger me's and hopefully less hairy hims, our little wolfy children. Oh, actually that's quite funny, isn't it? I realized. Wolf of Wall Street. You're Charlie Wolf, kind of fitting. Charles Wolf. Not his fault. Charles, sorry. Yeah, maybe, he concluded, swinging back the $9 craft beer that he pre-ordered. My, what big gulps do you take? I said, watching the whole thing disappear down him. He wiped the phone from his mouth like a true gentleman, sort of. You a natural redhead? He asked finally after a slightly awkward silence. Asking questions. Well, that's a good sign. It shows he's interested at least. I might not be the most original of inquiries, but something at least. I am indeed, I answered, twiddling one of my locks around my index fingers. You're pretty, he said, and immediately my cheeks exploded a dusty pink. It was the first compliment I had from a guy in, well, months, maybe even a year. I couldn't stop my heart from fluttering away. It's not that I think I'm bad looking at all, I don't. I know I look pretty good when I make an effort. Only given every girl out there makes an effort these days, and most boys don't naturally think short with freckles is their type. I don't think that many people actually notice. For ginger, he added. But I ignored that bit for obvious reasons. Suddenly I didn't care that he wasn't a natural beauty. Suddenly I didn't care that I could weave his eyebrow hair into a French plate. I was just a girl sitting in front of a boy, listening to him call her pretty and loving it. Thanks, I said, threading a loose strand back off my face and looking down coyly. You know, Shall we go back to mine? He interrupted. I mean, I wasn't going to say anything too breakthrough anyway, so, like, whatever. I looked down at my very full point of cider. Maybe another one? I asked, my voice sounding light and uncaring like I'd seen work in 100 rom-coms before. The bar's shut. Somewhere else? My place is like a 30-minute Uber. We can split it. It won't be more than 20 pounds or something. This might be the father of my children, I thought. The charm's just a little less than I'd hoped, but maybe he was just shy. Many men are just shy. Besides, he just told me I was pretty. I couldn't keep running from men at the first sign of trouble. Who on earth would there still be if I turned down every man who thought Dick first? So I took a gamble. Yeah, sure, I said, trying to sound all female empowerment like it was all my idea. Because it was my choice to meet him. It was my choice of venue. I was the one who bought the drinks, and now I was the one saying yes. I was winning at being a modern-day woman-ish. Except a 36-pound cab ride, and 2 hours later I was bouncing on top of him like a jumping jack, screaming his name and trying desperately not to manage the man beneath me was the aging Prince of England. Not the fairy tale opening, perhaps, but some things, like a good brew of tea, take time. All was not lost yet.